Hi everyone, my name is Kim and I am coming to you today from the Running and Gait Center at the Pan Am Clinic in Winnipeg, Canada. Last time I talked to you all about how the majority of running injuries can actually be traced to training error. And this week, we're going to talk specifically about one aspect of training that you can easily change or modify to protect you from running injury. We highlighted last week that 60% of all running injury is training error related. And of the running injuries that runners have, the most common injury is in the knee area, particularly runner's knee, which is pain in the front of the knee, generally around the kneecap region. Now this week, the National Physiotherapy Association Orthopedic Division released a few tidbits related to running. One of them I want to share with you. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and I'm going to show you this little comment here. So they are highlighting a study that was published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, the treatment for patellofemoral pain syndrome. And they found in that study that the best treatment for it was education on managing training loads based on symptoms, as well as gait training to work on step rate, and then targeted exercise if your quadriceps are weak. So right now we're going to talk about that step rate part of the equation. Step rate is also known as cadence. And you may have heard of cadence, but are not quite sure what cadence is. Cadence is the number of steps that your foot hits the ground in 1 minute, okay? So there is a range of what is considered a good or optimal cadence. For many years, everybody thought 180 was that perfect range or perfect number that everybody should achieve. That was actually based on some observational research done at the Olympics in what is now considered not a great quality study, where they were looking at all runners of the same height running the same speed. In reality, cadence is related to height, and it is also related to speed. So the shorter you are and the faster you are, the more turnover you're going to need in order to run. Therefore, you will have a higher cadence. If you are a really tall person running slower, you will naturally have a little bit of a slower cadence. But the ideal range is considered between 170 and 190 steps per minute. Higher than 190, you start to lose efficiency. Lower than 170, and your stride can become inefficient as well. The big problem with low cadence is that there tends to be more impact. Runners tend to overstride, so their stride length becomes longer, and that can lead to heel strike, which again relates to impact and forces being translated up to the knee and up to the hip. So runners want to have a higher cadence if possible. If you're not sure what your cadence is, there's two ways that you can quite easily check it. If you wear a running watch, most running watches will measure cadence in some way if you look in the metrics as for your past runs. If you don't wear a running watch like a Garmin or an Apple Watch, you can count the number of footsteps that your foot hits the ground in 15 seconds and simply multiply that by 4. So if you're on a treadmill, you just watch the little timer for 15 seconds and count every footstep left and right and multiply that number by 4. So for example, if your number is 45 in 15 seconds, you would have 180 cadence. So if you find that your number is on the lower side, you're in the 160s or heaven forbid the 150s, you may want to look at increasing your turnover, putting more steps into that given minute, which will mean that your steps will naturally become a little bit shorter. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to slow down, you're just increasing your turnover in that period of time, okay? So what we want to do is think about a few things. Here are some tips in order to work on cadence. First, just think about shortening your stride and running gently, okay? You want to run as quietly as you can. If you are a loud runner and all you do is run quieter without overanalyzing the specifics of your technique, if all you do is hit that ground more gently and create less noise, guaranteed you will be activating your core more, you will be shortening your stride, your center of gravity will shift a little bit forward, and you will be absorbing that impact better. Okay, so just listen to yourself and try to run quietly. As you run, you want to just check and be aware of your cadence both at the beginning, the middle, and the end of your run. Most runners are very quiet with a high cadence at the beginning when they're not fatigued, but as we fatigue, we tend to start letting gravity win and we start making more noise. If you really are struggling and you want a little help trying to figure out what it feels like to run at 180 cadence, for example, or 175, let's say, you can easily download an app on your phone, a free metronome app. The one I'm using is Soundbrenner. And all I'm going to do is set it to 175 and click it to start ticking. And you can run with footsteps to that tempo. Now, I would highly recommend only doing this in short periods of time, like 30-second intervals, because it will drive you crazy trying to run an entire run with this metronome going. But it is a good way for you to check and see what it actually feels like to get your feet on and off the ground at that tempo. You can download music by beats per minute from playlists like Apple or Spotify. Spotify's great. It's free. You just type in running 170 and it will come up with a whole bunch of songs with a tempo of 170 beats per minute. If you are a triathlete or you happen to just have a bike handy, you can try just spinning for 5 minutes at a high RPM, say 90 RPM, to get your legs and your neuromuscular system going at a higher frequency. And then when you get off that bike and start your run, your feet will be more likely to just keep moving at that tempo. Note that it is very important not to just run faster when you're working on cadence, okay? Because your stride will probably just lengthen rather than you increasing your turnover very much. And you will also get very tired. So cadence should be trained independently of speed. If you do have a treadmill, that's actually an optimal way to do it because it will fix you at a certain speed and you can't outrun the treadmill. Therefore, if you increase your tempo, your cadence will be increasing. It can be very difficult to change your cadence initially. It is very fatiguing on the neuromuscular system. So don't get discouraged if you're finding it's hard. It takes a long time, but over time you'll get adjusted to that higher cadence and you will actually find yourself running faster and more efficiently. But that's not the primary goal. That's the result. That's the result. Running faster isn't the primary goal. It's the result of having better efficiency and a better cadence. So there we go. That's a little bit on cadence. Go out there and run and give it a try. Bye.